This conference will now be recorded.
A beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. It is beautifully said by B.B. King. It's a glad welcome we bring to you this afternoon, filled with desires, hopes, and dreams we all share. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I am Jalan from the Department of ECE. I will be hosting today's webinar. God speaks in the silence of the heart. Listening is the beginning of the prayer. The wish to pray is a prayer in itself. Now I call upon Dinesh Kumar and Shalan to lead us in prayer. Over to you, Dinesh Kumar.
Today's Bible reading is taken from the book of Psalm, chapter 46, verses 1 and 2. God is a refuge and strength, and ever present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountain fall into the heart of the sea. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, Dinesh Kumar and Shalan. We would like to extend a special welcome to the speaker of the day. Now I call upon Hridaya to welcome everyone for this webinar. Over to you, Hridaya.
Thank you, Jalan. Good evening to all joined here. I hope everyone is doing good. Thank you, Almighty. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all, and on behalf of Loyola Institute of Technology, our management, administrator, principal, vice principal, cum HOD of ECE department, we wholeheartedly welcome all the participants for this webinar. On behalf of the department, we, the coordinators, welcome our resource person of today's session, Dr. C. Amali, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, SRM Valiamai Engineering College, Chennai. It's my pleasure to welcome you, ma'am. Your presence makes us very happy. I'm sure we will be enriched by this webinar on op-amp based data converters and special function ICs. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. We welcome you wholeheartedly for the webinar. In this context, I congratulate all the coordinators of this webinar, faculty members of ECE, and professional friends to make this happen. Dear participants, once again, I welcome you all for this wonderful technical day. Thank you. Over to you, Jalan.
Thanks for welcoming, Hridaya. Today's topic is about op-amp based data converters and special function ICs. We would like to introduce about the speaker of the day, Dr. C. Amali ma'am. Now, let's have introduction of the speaker by Abhinaya. Over to you, Abhinaya.
Thank you, Jalan. Good evening, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our resource person, Dr. C. Amali, Assistant Professor from the Department of ECE, SRM Valiamma Engineering College, Chennai. Her areas of expertise are wireless network and communication. She has more than 20 years of teaching experience. She owns the professional society membership in IETE, ISTE, CSI, IAENG, ISRD, ISC, etc. She pursued her UG in B Electronics and Communication Engineering in the year of 1997 from Government College of Technology, Bharatiyar University, and PG in Applied Electronics in the year of 2007 from College of Engineering, Anna University, and also completed her PhD in the domain of wireless network in the year of 2016 from SRM University. Her publication comprises of 24 reputed international journals and 9 presentations in the international conferences. Adding feather to her crown, she owns a patent on IoT-based smart wearable child and women's safety device, and she is also guiding 4 PhD candidates as supervisor under Anna University Center for Research. Moreover, she has applied for 5 research project proposals over various titles in wireless domain which is under consideration. We are happy to have you with us and gladly welcome you, ma'am, for the wonderful event. Thank you. Over to you, Jalin.
Thank you, Abhinaya. Before handing the session to our speaker, dear participants, if you have any questions or queries during the course of this webinar, kindly post your queries and questions in the chat box, and all your questions will be answered at the end of the session. Now, our speaker will take over the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for your nice introduction. So first of all, I would like to thank Vice Principal cum HOD ma'am, Dr. Nalini Joseph, for giving me an opportunity to present your lecture on APAM based data converters and special function ICs. So really, I am very much surprised to see that the way you have organized this webinar. It's really very good, ma'am. You have organized well. It's a remarkable beginning, ma'am. It's very superb, ma'am.
Yeah, it's all done by the students, ma'am, with support of the faculty. Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Student coordinators.
It's an open platform for them to enable it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, whether my screen is visible?
Yeah, your screen is visible, ma'am. Amali, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am. You can start your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. So one screen is coming on the right side, the go to meeting screen.
No, that you don't worry. That you don't worry. You just press that 2 arrows in the opposite side, it go off automatically.
Okay, ma'am.
It will not be
Okay,
visible
ma'am.
to us. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to one and all present here. So today I am going to present a webinar on APAM based data converters and special function ICs. Okay. So overview of my presentation includes what is the need for integrated circuit. So basics of operational amplifier, APAM applications. Then we are going to mainly concentrate on analog to digital and digital to analog data converters. Under the special function IC, we will be having PLL, phase lock loop, and voltage regulators. Okay, this is about the outline of my presentation. So first let us see what is meant by integrated circuit. Okay, normally during laboratory courses, you might have designed the electronic circuit using discrete components like resistors, capacitors, inductors. Okay, so whatever, suppose it's whatever the circuit designed using breadboard or PCB, printed circuit board, it's easy one. But the problem with designing electronic circuit using breadboard is, so whenever the number of components increases for some applications, it's very difficult to interconnect more number of components using breadboard, and the number of connections also get increased. So therefore, it is a difficult process to manage. using breadboard. Okay, so in this case, whenever the number of connection increases, the reliability of the circuit also get reduced. So that the accuracy of the output also affected. So to overcome these drawbacks of with the traditional electronic circuit, we go for integrated circuit. Okay, so in this integrated circuit, what we have to do is, instead of using discrete components separately, they are fabricated on a single substrate which is made up of silicon material. Then the using different fabricated technologies, then they are integrated on a single chip. Okay, that's why it is called as integrated circuit. Okay, so the main advantage of having integrated circuit is miniaturization. The size of the device can be reduced. Okay, so compact size, weight. So whenever the size and weight gets reduced, automatically the power dissipation also becomes very low. Okay, so what are the power is the important resource, important factor to be considered whenever we design a new product. Okay, so here when we go for integrated circuit, power consumption becomes low. That is the main advantage of integrated circuit. Cost. So in addition to that, in the integrated circuit, it involves only less number of connections, therefore the reliability gets increased. The last one important one is switching speed. Switching speed is nothing but the device, the time taken by the device to switch from on state to off state. So whenever we buy a new device, so the switching speed has to be very high. Okay, while switching on the device. So these are the major advantages of integrated circuits. So next, let us move on to the basics of operational amplifier. Actually, what is mean by op-amp? Here we have taken operational amplifier as an example for integrated circuit. Okay, so amplifier is nothing but amplification of the input signal. So why it is called operational amplifier? Since it performs some mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, integration, differentiation, logarithmic and anti-logarithmic. These are all some of the applications of operational amplifier. So that's why it is called as operational amplifier. Okay, next, when you see the internal structure of the op amp, okay, it consists of three stages. Input stage is named as differential amplifier stage. Um, the level next stage is second stage is named as level translator stage. Third stage is named as output stage. Okay, so the input stage is, why this input stage is named as differential amplifier stage? Okay, so the specific reason behind this is the op amp. When you see the circuit, that is equivalent circuit of operational amplifier, so the op amp IC, that is IC 741, consists of two inputs. One is non-inverting input, another one is inverting input. So the function of the operational amplifier is to amplify the difference between two inputs. Okay, so that means it acts as a differential amplifier. Therefore, the input stage is differential amplifier stage. Okay, so the point to be noted here is it contains two inputs. One is inverting input, another one is non-inverting input. So next we'll move on to the characteristics of operational amplifier. So whenever you want to characterize any circuit, any device, some parameters are to be considered. Here, so what are the parameters to be considered for the characterization of operational amplifier IC741 is, the first factor to be considered is voltage gain. So you know that what is meant by voltage gain. You might have plotted a frequency response. So frequency response is always plotted with respect to frequency versus gain. So voltage gain is nothing but output voltage divided by the input voltage. Okay. So what is meant by offset voltage? So normally, if there is no input voltage, if the input is zero, output also should be zero. Okay, it's a normal procedure, normal one, ideal case. But instead of that, you will be getting some minimum amount of voltage at the output side, even though the input is zero. How it is possible in op amp? So in the op amp, input stage is differential amplifier stage. We all know that. Okay. So the differential amplifier is made up of either BJT or FET. Okay. So in the ideal case, the BJT or FET or input terminal draws no current from the source. Practically speaking, the BJT to whenever we use BJT or FET, some amount of current is required to bias the transistor. Okay, so the input terminal draws some amount of current from the source for its biasing. Okay, that is called as bias current. So due to this bias current, some amount of output voltage will be produced at the output side. Okay, that is called as offset voltage. You might have studied about the input bias current, bias voltage in the DC characteristics of operational amplifier in unit 1. Okay. So what is mean by common mode rejection ratio? Actually, so since we have two inputs for op-amp, so we should not give same information through the two inputs. Okay, it should be a different one. Okay, in case if you are giving the same input through two inputs, the op-amp should be able to reject the common mode rejection. Okay, so the common mode rejection ratio, that is CMRR, is the factor which is used to determine how well the op-amp can able to reject the common mode signals. Okay, the last one is slew rate. Slew rate determines the how the op-amp responds to the change in the input voltage. Okay, so these are all the factors to be considered during characterization of operational amplifier. So as I explained you, voltage gain is nothing but output voltage divided by the input voltage. Offset voltage is nothing but what is the output of the op-amp when the input voltage is 0. So common mode rejection ratio is nothing but how well the op-amp can able to reject the common mode signal. So the formula to calculate the common mode rejection, this will be asked in 2 marks. Okay, determine the common mode rejection ratio. So we can able to find the common mode rejection ratio if differential mode gain AD and ACs are given. AD by AC. This is the formula can be used to determine the CMRR. So this is the slew rate. Slew rate, defined slew rate means maximum rate of change of output voltage due to the step input voltage. Normally it is defined as dV0 divided by dt. So this is the normally in the op-amp is classified into ideal op-amp, practical op-amp. So the always the ideal case differs from the practical case. Okay, this is the ideal op-amp. Okay, so the ideal characteristics means in the input impedance is infinite, output impedance is 0, gain should be infinite, bandwidth should be infinite, CMRR should be infinite. But practically speaking, we won't get ideal values during practical experiments. You might have experience during laboratory courses. We won't get ideal value while doing experiments. Okay, so whenever the input impedance is infinite, you will be getting some high value of impedance. So whenever the output impedance is 0, instead of 0, you will be getting some low value. Okay, that is the practical characteristics. When you move to the practical characteristics, instead of infinite, the impedance will be in the range of mega ohms. The output impedance instead of 0, you'll be getting in the range of few ohms. Okay, so that's the difference between ideal and practical characteristics. So next we will move on to the applications of operational amplifier. So you might have studied about the applications of operational amplifier in unit 2. So these are all some of the applications of operational amplifier: inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier. Amplifier means it amplifies it increases the amplitude of the input signal. So inverting means you will be giving input through inverting terminal. So non-inverting means you will be giving input through the non-inverting terminal. Okay. So for the inverting amplifier, the output voltage is determined V0 equal to VI input VI into minus RF divided by R1. For non-inverting amplifier, the output voltage is determined as V0 equal to Vin into 1 plus RF divided by R1. So voltage follower means this is the unity gain amplifier for amplifier. That means V0 equal to Vin. Integrator, differentiator, then waveform generator. So under the waveform generator, what are the circuits you studied? Anybody else?
Square
Can
wave
you give
generator,
example for
triangular wave generator.
yes, square wave generator? Can you give example for square wave generator? So the square wave can be generated using unstable multivibrators, Schmitt trigger circuits. Okay. So triangular waveform generator. Then how do you generate the sine wave? Sine wave can be generated using oscillator circuit, RC phase shift oscillator, Wien bridge oscillator circuits. Then we will move on to the data converters, op-amp based data converters, A to D and D to A converters. Okay. So during in this presentation, we are going to concentrate on data converters, op-amp based data converters. So before entering into the types of A to D and D to A converters, op-amp based converters, we should know what is the need of converting analog into digital, digital into analog. Okay. So whatever the data we encounter in the real world, always physical quantities encountered, we experience in the day-to-day activities, always in the analog form only. It can be a voltage, current, temperature, etc. It will be available in the analog form. Okay. So why don't you process analog form directly? Okay. Why it is converted into digital? So you might have studied about the disadvantages of analog signal, the difference between analog signal and digital signal during signals and systems, as well as during communication theory course you might have studied. Am I correct? Hope you know the difference between analog and digital, analog system and digital system.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So analog signal means the amplitude signals, the amplitude value is continuous. Okay. So the amplitude of the signal varies continuously with respect to time. Okay. So therefore, it is very difficult to process the analog signal and also to store the values at each and every instant of time. The amplitude of the signal varies, keep on varying. Okay, analog signal. Okay, so it's very difficult to store, and also it is very difficult to transmit the analog signal, because so this is analog signal is nothing but the continuous signal. When you transmit this continuous signal through channel, through air, the noise signal can be easily added with the amplitude of the signal. Okay, so what happens means it affects the quality of transmission. That means what are the factors used to determine the quality of transmission? How do you estimate the quality of transmission? How do you estimate the quality of transmission? What are the factors? Might have studied in communication theory. So the first factor to be considered is signal to noise ratio. Okay, whenever the noise signal is added up with the amplitude of the signal, the noise power will get increased. Okay, so probability of error will increase. So therefore, to avoid this, we have to convert analog signal into digital signal. Okay, that's the importance of having analog to digital conversion. So with the help of this block diagram, we can able to understand the role or importance of A to D converter in signal processing system. Okay, so the first block to be considered is sensor. The first block to be considered is sensor. You know the function of sensor. So the sensor sense the physical quantities from the plant. Here actually plant is nothing but industry or any environment from which you are going to measure the data. The output of the sensor will be in analog form. So the analog signal is given to the anti-aliasing filter. So what is meant by aliasing? Anybody else? What is meant by aliasing? Students? Overlapping of frequency components. Overlapping of frequency components. Okay. So the analog signal, before processing this analog to performing analog to digital conversion, so it should be passed through the anti-aliasing filter to remove the unwanted frequency components, so that we will be getting band limited signal. Then this band limited signal is passed through the sample and hold circuit. What is meant by sample and hold circuit? What is meant by sample and hold circuit? So the continuous signal is sampled. Okay, it can be sampled with the help of rectangular pulses. It is sampled. Okay, so the sampled value is held constant till the next sample occurs. Okay, so the output of the sample and hold circuit will be a discrete signal. Okay, so there is a difference between analog signal, discrete signal, and digital signal. So discrete signal means what is meant by discrete signal? The amplitude is discretized. Okay, at t equal to t1, you will be getting, at t equal to t2, you will be getting some
Finite
amplitude.
amplitude at a
T equal
finite
to
interval
3,
of time,
t3,
ma'am.
this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, like that. Yes. So the amplitude is discretized. Okay. So discrete signal, then it is given to the A to D converter. So the output of the A to D converter will be in digital form. Digital signal means it is a sequence of ones and zeros. Then the digital signal is processed using either DSP processor or computer or embedded processor. So the output of the processor will be in digital form. Suppose if you want to view the output of the processor in analog form means, then it can be converted into analog using D2A converter. Then the output of the D2A converter will be a staircase signal. Staircase signals means it includes quantization noise. It is added up with the quantization noise. So the quantization noise can be removed with the help of the smoothing filter in order to get the original analog signal. Okay. So I think from this block diagram you can understand what is the role of A to D and D to A converters. So next we will move on to the first, we will discuss about the digital to analog conversion. So this is the block which describes the basic concept behind D2A conversion. Okay. So in the input, whatever the input will be given in the digital form, D1, D2 up to Dn. So the digital signal is digital input is combined with the reference voltage in order to get the analog output voltage V0. So now the analog output voltage V0 is nothing but it is a combination of digital input with reference voltage VR. Okay. So this is the concept behind DTA conversion. How this concept can be expressed mathematically? It can be expressed mathematically as, so the output voltage V0 equal to K into VFS into D1 into 2 power minus 1 plus D2 into 2 power minus 2 plus etc. plus 2 power dn into 2 power minus n. Okay. So this is the mathematical expression for D to A conversion, where K is nothing but scaling factor, which is always adjusted to, K value is always adjusted to 1. So this is the full scale voltage. That means this is the reference voltage. Okay, this is the input, digital input, whatever we have applied to the circuit. So this mathematical expression, how to implement this mathematical expression? Using circuit, different methods. So this mathematical expression can be implemented using three methods. The first method is weighted resistor DAC. Second one is R2R DAC. Third one is inverted R2R DAC. Okay. So these three are the different methods used for the implementation of this mathematical expression. But even though the method is different, you will be getting the same output expression for all the three methods. So the first type is binary weighted resistor type DAC. Okay. So here it is op-amp based D2A converter. Here this is the op-amp circuit. So here the op-amp non-inverting terminal plus is grounded. The inverting terminal is connected to the binary weighted resistor. So therefore it is named as, here the op-amp is operated in, op-amp is operated in, what is the mode of operation here? Inverting mode. Okay, here the op amp is operated in inverting mode because the input is given through inverting terminal. Okay, so our aim is to find out the voltage at this point. This is the input voltage. Okay. Okay, now from this circuit, this is the feedback resistance. These are all input resistance. Okay, so the current flowing through the feedback resistance is I0. I0 is here divided into I1, I2, I3, etc. up to IN. So why it is called binary weighted resistor type? Okay, here the resistor type. So here resistor R is multiplied with the 2 power 1. Okay, so that's why it is called as 2 power 1. Then again 2 power 2, 2 power 3, etc. 2 power n. So that's why it is named as binary weighted resistor type DAC. Okay, so this is connected to the digital input D1, D2, D3, etc. Dn through the switches. This is nothing but single pole double throw switch. Okay. If digital input is 1, it is connected to the reference voltage. If the digital input is 0, it is connected to the ground. Okay, so like that the resistors, binary weighted type resistors are connected. Okay, next we have to apply the Kirchhoff's current law at this node to find the current equation. So according to Kirchhoff's current law, either the sum of the currents at the particular node is equal to 0, or current entering into the node will be equal to the current leaving the node. Okay, so when you apply the Kirchhoff's current law at node A, so this is the equation: I1 plus I2 plus I3 plus etc. plus In equal to 0. So when you observe this Kirchhoff's current law equation, when you observe this, VA is the common term available in all terms. So we can take the VA outside. So when you bring this VA to the right side, it becomes 0. Thus the VA can be eliminated. Then after eliminating the VA, the first term is minus V0 divided by RF. It is taken to the right side, V0 divided by RF, and we are writing the remaining terms, VR divided by 2 dash R into D1 plus VR divided by 2 power 2 R into D2 plus etc. Okay, so from this we can write V0 equal to, this is the whole term is represented as I0 into RF. What is I0 from this equation? I0 equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3 etc. In. So this is I1, this is I2 plus etc. plus In. So this is the current equation. Okay, so the current equation is simplified as, in this current equation, so in the we have the binary terms, that is 2 power binary weighted term 2 power 1 2 power 2 in the denominator. We are taking VR divided by R. VR divided by R is the common term that is taken outside. Then the 2 power n is, when you bring this 2 power 1 to the numerator, you will be having 2 power minus 1. That is written here. We are taking VR divided by R common, D1 into 2 power minus 1, like that it is rewritten here. We have derived that V0 equal to I0 into RF. Okay, so instead of I0 we can substitute this expression. Now this is the output equation we have obtained from this circuit. Now we can compare this equation with the general mathematical expression on comparing equation 1 and 2. So when you compare this, K, instead of K, here we have RF divided by R. So it should be equal to 1. Okay. So if RF equal to R, then K equal to 1. VR is nothing but reference voltage. Okay. Thus, the expression can be implemented using binary weighted resistor type resistor. Okay. So what is the disadvantage of this method is, so wide range of resistor values are required. So that means when you increase the number of bits, so if it is 3 bit means 2 power 1 2 power 2 2 power 3. Okay, if you give 8 bit inputs means 2 power 8 into R. If you give 12 bit inputs in digital inputs means 2 power 12. So in case of 12 bit, you will be so the resistor values will be in the range of mega ohms. Okay, so high value of resistance are required. Okay, so it's very difficult to manufacture high value of resistance if you increase the number of bits. That's the drawback of this binary weighted resistor type resistor. Okay, so as the number of bit increases, the range of resistance value also increases. If it is 12 bit DAC, the largest resistance value required is 5.12 mega ohms. Okay, so therefore the fabrication of large resistance in IC form is not practical. Okay, that is the first disadvantage. Second disadvantage is, whenever the value of the resistance increases, automatically what about the voltage drop across the resistor? When the resistance value increases, the drop across the resistor also increases. So when voltage drop increases, it affects the accuracy of the system. So these two are the drawbacks of the binary weighted resistor type resistor. Okay, so to overcome these drawbacks only, we go for R2R ladder type DAC. So why it is called R2 or ladder type DAC? Okay, since only two resistor values are involved, we need only, but in case of binary weighted resistor type, we require many values of many, that is wide range of resistor values are required. But here only 2 resistor values are required, R and 2R. So that's the advantage of having R2R ladder type. This is the R2R ladder type resistor. Here also it is operated in inverting mode. So to find the expression for the output voltage, we have to find the voltage at this point. So to find the voltage at this point, we have to simplify this network. Let me have a nodal equation, no, A, B, C. So I am giving a point for this node A, B, C. Our aim is to find out the voltage at node C. So for that, this ladder R2R ladder network is simplified. So here it is simplified only for the specific inputs D1 equal to 1, D2 equal to 0, D3 equal to 0. Okay, so only this 2R is connected to minus VR. So the remaining 2R is connected to the ground potential. So this is the equivalent circuit. So after simplification, you will be getting the voltage at node C is minus VR divided by R. Okay, 4. So, okay, so this is the simplified circuit diagram of the R2R ladder network. Now it is equal to what? Now this simplified circuit is equal to inverting amplifier. According to the inverting amplifier circuit, output V0 equal to, so this is minus RF divided by R1. RF is the feedback resistor. This is input resistor into this is the input. So after simplification, you will be getting the output VR divided by 2. Okay. So even though this is more advantageous than binary weighted resistor type DAC, the problem with this R2R ladder type is, what is the problem with this R2R ladder type is the current flowing through the resistor. Current flowing through this resistor depends on the digital input. What digital input applied. Okay, so if it is 1, it is connected to the reference voltage. So if it is 0, it is connected to the ground potential. So accordingly, the drop across the resistance changes. So the current flowing through the resistor also will change. Okay, so therefore, if the value of the digital input increases, what happens? The current flowing through the resistor also increases. So whenever the current flowing through the resistor increases, then automatically it results in power dissipation. So it leads to heating effect. So whenever the power dissipation increases, automatically it affects the accuracy of the output. The V0 value will get changed due to the heating effect. So that is called as non-linear error. That means whenever there is a change in the digital input, the V0 also should be changed accordingly. But instead of that, whenever the input value increases, V0 decreases, mean that is called as non-linear error. Okay, so this heating effect produces non-linear error at the output. So this is the serious issue with respect to R2R ladder network. We have to eliminate it. So the more power dissipation causes heating effect, which creates non-linearity at the output. Okay, this is the serious problem. It has to be completely eliminated. It can be eliminated with the help of inverted R2R ladder network. So in this, why it is called inverted R2R ladder network means, there are 2 reasons behind this. One is the position of the reference voltage and op amp is inverted. Okay, when you compare the circuit with R2R ladder network, so the reference voltage will be in the downside, op amp will be in the upper side. Here the position of the reference voltage and op amp is interchanged. So that is the first reason. Second reason is the position of the digital inputs. So we always give D1 here, D1, D2, D3. Okay, but here D1 is applied to the last one. Okay, so D1 is applied from here, D1, D2, D3. Like that, it is the digital inputs are given. Okay, so the position of the LSB and MSB is interchanged. Position of the LSB and MSB is interchanged. Okay, that's why it is named as inverted R2R ladder network. Okay. So how it eliminates the heating effect? That's the concept behind this network. How it eliminates the heating effect means when you see this circuit, so the resistor, the 2R resistor is connected to the digital input through switch. So okay, so when the switch or one end is connected to the inverting terminal, so another end is also connected to the non-inverting terminal. Here the non-inverting terminal is connected to the ground potential. Okay, so even though whenever the digital input is 1, it is connected to the inverting. Okay, even though it is connected to the inverting terminal, due to virtual, okay, you might have studied about virtual circuit, virtual short. So this inverting terminal is shorted to the ground virtually. So that means whatever the voltage at this point will be equal to voltage at this point. That is called virtual short concept. You might have studied in unit 1, virtual short concept, while deriving the expression for adder and subtractor circuit. Okay, so practically speaking, both inverting and non-inverting terminal both are connected to the ground potential only. Okay, so therefore, independent of the digital input, either the digital input is 1 or 0. Okay, irrespective of that, the current flowing through the resistor won't change. Okay, the current flowing through the resistor don't change whatever the input is supplied, if it is 1 or 0. So that means it is independent of the digital input applied. Okay, so thus it avoids the eliminates the heating effect. Okay, so the inverted R2R ladder network. Okay, so this is the inverted R2R ladder network is more advantageous than that of the other two networks. So these are all about the digital to analog conversion technique. Next we'll move on to the analog to digital conversion technique. It is just opposite to that of the DTA converters. So this is the basic block of A to D conversion. So in this, one difference between DTA and A to D conversion is for A to D conversion, we need two control lines, start and end of conversion. Okay, start control line is used to initiate the conversion process. End of conversion is used to inform about the end of conversion process. So the types of A to D converter is, the A to D converter is primarily classified into direct type and integrating type A to D converter. So why it is called direct type A to D converter? From the name itself, we can say that the given analog signal is directly converted into digital signal. Okay, that's why it is named as direct type A to D converter. So since it converts the analog signal into digital signal directly, the speed of conversion is high. But the accuracy of the output is low. Okay, since it involves only direct step, the direct conversion, it performs direct conversion, the accuracy is less when compared to the integrating type ADC, but speed is high. Okay, so example for direct type A to D conversion is flash type A to D converter, successive approximation type A to D converter. Next, when you move to the integrating type A to D converter, from the name itself, we can say that integrating type or indirect. It performs conversion indirectly. Okay, that means first the analog input signal is converted into linear function of time or frequency, and then the time is converted into digital code. Here, two steps are involved. First step, analog input signal is converted into time or frequency, then the time or frequency is converted into digital code. Okay, so that's why the conversion accuracy is high. But when we talk about the speed of conversion is low when you compare to that of direct type ADC. Okay, so here it includes two types: single slope A to D conversion, dual slope A to D conversion. So first let us talk about the direct type A to D converter. For direct type A to D converter, we have first type is flash or parallel comparator. Why it is called flash A to D converter means it performs conversion process instantaneously, not sequentially. Instantaneous conversion process takes place. That's why it is named as flash type A to D converter. Okay, for simplicity, for understanding purpose, we are taking 3-bit ADC circuit. 3-bit means 8 different 2 power 3, 8 different combinations are possible. So therefore, we have 8 op-amp comparators and the resistive divider network. So this is the circuit of flash type A to D converter. Okay, so to perform analog to digital conversion, we need analog input signal VA. Then to perform comparison operation, since it is 8-bit A to D conversion, we have 8 comparators. Then to perform comparison, another input is required. Another input is taken from the reference voltage VR. This is the resistive divider network. Here it is divided into 8 equal parts to give inputs to the 8 comparators. So according to the output of the comparator, then the 823 priority encoder generates the 3-bit output. Okay. So for example, if the analog input voltage is very low, means it will be in the range of 0 to 1 by 8. If it is in the range of 0 to 1 by 8, then the last that is the lowest comparator will be active. The output is 1. Okay. So if it is in the range of 0 to 2 by 8 means, then the last 2 comparators will be active. The output of last 2 comparators will be 1. So like that it proceeds. So let us see the table. If the analog input voltage is in the range of 0 to VR by 8, the last comparator X0 is 1. If it is in range of 2 VR by 8, the last 2 comparators. So this is the highest value. 7 VR by 8 to VR is the highest value of the reference voltage. So when the analog input voltage reaches the highest value, all the comparators outputs are equal to 1. So now the corresponding output bits are 1, 1, 1. Okay, that's the analog to digital conversion. Okay, thus the analog signal is converted into digital output using this flash type A to D conversion. Okay, so here the comparison takes place. All 8 comparators performs comparison operation simultaneously, not sequentially. Okay, so that's the significance of this flash type A to D converter. Therefore, the conversion speed is high. Okay, so the conversion speed is high, and also it depends on the speed of the priority encoder and comparators. So that is the advantage of having flash type A to D converter. So disadvantages, what could be the disadvantage of flash type A to D converter? Means suppose if it is 8-bit comparator means 8 comparators are required. So if you increase the number of bits, automatically the number of comparators required also get increased. Okay, so the number of comparators required increases when the number of input bits increases. So number of output bits also increases. Okay, this is the drawback of flash type A to D converter. So the number of comparators required as almost doubles for every added bit. Okay, that is the disadvantage of flash type A to D converter. So next we'll move on to the successive approximation type A to D converter. Actually, the successive approximation A to D converter uses code search strategy. That means, so the important concept to be noted here is, here one trial code is generated. Okay, using successive approximation register, we will generate one trial code. Okay, so we have to match this trial code with the required value. Okay, let me explain with the help of the circuit diagram. So this is the successive approximation register. Once the start command is received, okay, so this is the output of 8-bit successive approximation register D1 to D8. So simply it set some trial code by setting D1 equal to 1. By setting D1 equal to 1, the remaining bits are 0. That is the trial code. So the trial code has to be compared with the actual analog input. This is the analog input. So we cannot compare the digital value with the analog. Therefore, we have put one D2A converter here. Then the digital input is converted into analog. The corresponding analog input VD is compared with VA. Okay. So when you compare this, in case VD is less that of VA. So number generate பண்ணக்கூடிய trial code is less than that of VA means what we have to do? We have to increase this VD value. Okay, then only the trial code will be equivalent to the required digital output. Okay, so how to increase this VD value? By increasing this digital bits. Okay, so to increase the VD, what we have to do is we have to keep this MSB equal to 1 as it is. Then we have to increase the T2 equal to 1. So like that, we have to keep on increase the VD value till it reaches the VA. In case if VD is far greater than that of VA, in case VD is higher than that of VA, means what we have to do? We have to reduce this value. How to reduce this value? While reducing the value, we have to reset the MSB and then we have to increase the next bit. Okay, so like that we have to proceed till all the bits have been tested. So see the table, you will come to know that. So in this table, this is the initial trial code. So using this initial trial code, first one bit is set. In this case, VA is greater than VD. Comparator output is 1, initial output. Okay. So therefore, in this case, VD is less. So VD kammiya irukanaala, we have to increase the value of VD. So by keeping MSB as it is, by setting another second bit, next bit to 1. Okay. So now also the VD is less that of analog input voltage. So therefore we have to increase the VD by keeping another bit to 1. Then so under this condition, VD is greater than, now VD becomes high. So what we have to do? We have to reduce this VD value. While reducing the VD value, we have to reset the previous bit and set the next bit. Okay, like that we have to proceed till VA becomes equal to VD. When VA becomes equal to VD, the comparator output is 1. Okay, that's the required value, but we should not stop here. We have to continue till all the bits have been changed. Okay, till that means if it is 8-bit conversion means 8 clock pulses are required. Okay, all the bits have to be tested. All the bits are tested to obtain the correct digital output. At the end of the 8th clock cycle, you will be getting VA equal to VD. So once the VA equal to VD condition is reached, so whatever the trial code we are getting is the correct digital output. Okay. So in between also we are getting VA equal to VD. So you'll be getting the same output. We'll be getting the same output whenever we have VA equal to VD. So the trial code is taken as the correct digital output. So in this circuit, so the trial code is taken as the correct digital output. Whenever the VA equal to VD condition is reached, the corresponding trial code is taken as the correct digital output. Okay, so that's why we are first initially we are approximating the digital value, then it is compared with the, then it is updated sequentially. Sequentially it is updated, not instantaneous. Sequentially it is updated. Okay, so that's why it is named as successive approximation register method. So the conversion time of this depends on the clock period and number of bits used. This is the formula to use to determine the conversion time of the A to D converter. So next we'll move on to the integrating type A to D. So in this integrating type A to D, so we will mainly concentrate on dual slope instead of single slope. So this is the dual slope A to D conversion is the important method. Okay, so in this actually the analog and reference voltages converted into time periods. Here two parts are involved. First, the analog voltages converted into time period using integrated circuit, step 1. Then step 2, then the time period is converted into digital output using counter. Step 1, first part is performed with the help of the integrator. Second part is performed with the help of the counter. Okay. To see the circuit diagram, in this circuit initially this is the integrated circuit. Okay, this is the counter. So initially the integrator is connected to analog input voltage through switch at time t equal to 0. Okay, because the switch position is controlled by the output of the flip-flop. Initially the flip-flop is controlled by the MSB bit. Initially the MSB is at logic 0, so therefore at time t equal to 0, it is connected to the analog input. Okay, so the analog input voltage is integrated by the integrated at time t equal to t1. Then since the input is positive, the output of the integrator will be a negative 1. So you'll be getting negative going ramp at time t1. Okay, so the output increases in the negative side till it reaches the voltage V. So therefore, the comparator output is high. So once the comparator output becomes high, the AND gate is enabled, clock reaches the counter. Okay, so the counter starts its counting operation. So then at the end of 2 power n clock cycles, what happens is the MSB, in the last MSB bit, if it is 3 bit means 2 power 3, 8 clock pulses are required to reach the MSB. So at the end of 8th clock cycle, the MSB bit equal to 1. Once the MSB bit becomes logic 1, the flip-flop output becomes high. Then the switch is connected to the, now the switch is connected to the minus V reference. So when the reference voltage is negative, the output of the integrator will be positive. So during time period T2, the reference voltage is integrated. So the output is positive means this will be a positive going ramp. Okay, during time T1 negative going ramp, during time T2 positive going ramp. So once at the end of time period T2, once it reaches the 0, this is the 0 line. Once it reaches the 0, okay, so the comparator output becomes low. Okay, now the AND gate is disabled. Okay, so we cannot no, the clock pulse cannot reach the counter. Okay, so thus during time period T1, input voltage is analog input voltage is integrated. During time period T2, reference voltage is integrated. Thus the analog signal is converted into the time period. Then the time period is converted into digital output using counter. Okay, so during time period T1, this is the output of the integrator during time period T1 when analog input voltage is integrated. Then at the end of 2 power n clock periods, so it is connected to the minus V reference. So this is time period T1, this is time period T2. Okay, so during time period T1, the input voltage VA is integrated. So you will be getting negative going output, negative going ramp, Vi divided by R1 C1. Then during T2 time period, you will be getting positive going ramp. So at the end of time T2, and the input voltage, that is the integrator output becomes 0. Once the integrator output becomes 0, then the comparator output is low. This which in turn stops the clock pulses reaching the counter. So the counter will be stopped at the end of the time period T2. Okay, so now when you compare this T1 equal to T2, so Vi T1 divided by R1, on this comparison you will be getting the expression for T2. So during first part we will be deriving the expression for T2. During the second part, the D2 has to be converted into the digital code using this formula. Digital output equal to counts per second into D2. Okay, this is the formula used to convert the time period into the digital code. So this is about the integrated type or indirect type A to D conversion. Okay, this is highly accurate. Okay, this is the more advantageous A to D conversion. Then low cost, temperature variations, more stable to temperature variations. So the last one is sample and hold circuit. What is the need for sample and hold circuit? Okay, so only one point to be noted here, the sample and hold circuit is, so actually initially the signal is sampled, then this is the sample. Okay, so once the sampled amplitude of the sampled signal should be held constant till the next sample occurs. Okay, like that we have to proceed. This is the first sample, then the sample has an amplitude of the sample is held constant till the next sample occurs. Why we have to hold the amplitude constant during this period means, so this is the conversion process. During the conversion process, in case if the amplitude of the, this is the amplitude of the signal keep on changing, we cannot get the correct digital output. Okay, so there is an error at the output side. It affects the accuracy of the conversion process. So therefore, the sample and hold circuit is important circuit in A to D conversion process in order to increase the accuracy of the result. So that's the function of the A to D, to minimize the occurrence of the errors. Okay, it is necessary to hold the value of the analog input voltage constant during the conversion process. In case if the amplitude of the analog signal keep on changing during the conversion process means, we cannot say what is the actual value, what is the correct value. We cannot predict the correct value at correct value. Okay, so we cannot predict the accuracy of the result. So therefore, we have to hold the value of the analog input voltage constant during the conversion process. It can be done only with the help of the sample and hold circuit. Okay, it may be asked in the 2 marks. What is the need for sample and hold circuit? Next, what are the parameters to be considered for to determine the performance of the D to A conversion? Okay, so these are the parameters. We can see these parameters while solving these problems. So these are all some sample problems with respect to ADC and DAC. So this is the formula to find the maximum frequency. Okay, to find the maximum frequency of the signal. So conversion time is given. So n is given. You can substitute. You can find out. So the next step is, next problem is to find the conversion time. So the formula to determine the conversion time is Tc equal to T into n plus 1. Okay. So frequency is given from which we can able to find the time period. Okay, we can substitute and we can able to determine the conversion time. So next one is in this output is, if the input is given, how to determine the output of the DAC. Okay, here the basic step of the 9-bit DAC. 9-bit DAC means n value is given. Okay, so for this is basic step only, it means that resolution. So resolution is given as 10.3 millivolts. Okay. So if resolution is given, what is the formula to determine the output? Okay. So if resolution is given, what is the formula to determine the output is output equal to resolution into D. What is D? Nothing but D is this is the important formula to calculate the output. So output கண்டுபிடிக்கிற மாதிரி many problems are there. V0 equal to resolution into D, where capital D is the decimal value of the digital input. So resolution is given. So output V0 equal to, this is the resolution. This is the decimal value of the input. What is the input given here? 10110 ones. Okay, so this is the digital input. We have to find the decimal equivalent of this input. The decimal equivalent of this input is 367. When you multiply with this with the resolution, you will be getting the output voltage V0. So in this problem, we have to calculate the, we have to find the number of bits required to design the DTA converter in order to have the resolution of 5 millivolts. Okay, resolution is given. So in the reverse process, we need to find the number of bits. Resolution, the formula to find the resolution is full scale voltage divided by 2 power n minus 1. Here the full scale voltage is also given 8 volts. N is also given. So n is to be determined. Sorry, n is to be determined. Resolution is given. So after substituting these values, you can able to find n equal to this. This can be approximated to the integer value of 11. This is the formula to find the resolution. So maximum problem will be asked to determine the output voltage if input is given, input and resolution is given. So V0 equal to, always equal to resolution into capital D. Capital D is the decimal equivalent of the input. So these are all similar problem only. This is nothing but a problem with respect to sample and hold circuit. So for ADC, the resolution formula is common to both ADC and DAC. This is the quantization error. So the resolution formula is EB full scale voltage divided by 2 power n minus 1. This is same for both ADC and DAC. So this is the formula to calculate the quantization error for analog to digital converter. So with this, I end up with the data converters. Next, I will move to the special function ICs. So the special function IC under this category, the first IC to be considered is PLL, phase lock loop IC. So what is the need of this PLL IC? Okay, phase lock loop. It is a closed loop system designed to track the frequency of the input signal. Okay, so you might have studied about the PLL based detectors in communication theory actually. So for example, detector means, what is the use of detector circuit in communication theory? What is the use of detector circuit? To detect the carrier frequency of the received signal. Okay, the same operation is performed by the PLL circuit also. The PLL circuit also to detect or to lock the frequency and phase angle of the input signal. Okay, so that is the application of PLL loop. PLL loop is mainly used in FM detector to detect the carrier frequency of the received signal. Okay, next, frequency multiplier. Frequency multiplier means to, what is the function of frequency multiplier? To generate multiples of input frequency, that is 2f, 3f, 4f, like that integer multiples of input frequency can be generated. Frequency synthesizer means different varieties of different range of frequencies can be generated using frequency synthesizer. So these are all applications of IC. So here I have taken IC 565 as an example for PLL IC. So this is the general block diagram of the PLL. So the first block is always phase detector. Next block is low pass filter. Third block is voltage controlled oscillator. Okay. So here the function of the PLL is input signal. This is the input signal. What is the use of phase detector means? So the important concept behind this phase detector or phase comparator is, it compares the input frequency. That means it compares the phase angle of the input signal with the phase angle of the reference signal. So now this phase difference is converted into the output. Actually, the phase detector output will be the error voltage. The phase angle is converted into voltage. Okay. So now the output of the phase detector is given to the low pass filter to remove the high. What is the role of low pass filter here? To remove the high frequency noise. Now the output of the low pass filter is given to the voltage controlled oscillator. So the what is the input of the voltage controlled oscillator? Input is the control voltage VC. Now the control voltage controlled oscillator output is frequency. Here the voltage is converted into the transformed into the frequency F0. Now the output of the voltage controlled oscillator is given to the phase comparator. Okay, that's the concept of PLL loop. So that's the same thing is explained here. So normally the PLL phase lock loop can be operated in 3 modes: free running mode, capture mode, lock mode. Okay. So initially, suppose if there is no input signal, means the output frequency of the voltage controlled oscillator is called as F0. The F0 is named as the free running frequency. F0 is the free running frequency, that is nothing but when there is no input signal. Okay. In case if input signal is applied, the F0, the free running frequency F0 has to be either increased or decreased in order to match with the input frequency. The F0 should match with the input frequency. Like that, the F0 has to be increased or decreased. Okay, it depends on the value of the control voltage. So the control voltage depends on the value of the error voltage. Okay, so the major factors to be considered is the error voltage and control voltage are the two important parameters which is responsible for the determination of the phase lock loop. So first mode is free running mode. Free running mode means no input is applied. So when input signal is applied, okay, first what happens when input is applied? Once the input is applied, the phase comparator compares the F0 with Fi. Accordingly, the phase difference is converted into voltage. Then based on the value of the control voltage, the F0 is either increased or decreased. Okay, like that, and the process continues till F0 equal to Fi. Okay, F0 tries to track the frequency of the input signal, try to match with the input. That is called try to capture the value of the input signal. That's why the second mode is called as capture mode. Okay, so once the free running frequency F0, the output of the VCO matches with the input signal frequency, then we can say that the loop is locked. Okay, it is locked with the input signal frequency. Okay, now it is said to be in lock mode. Okay, so thus we have free running mode, capture mode, and lock mode. So this is the IC details, IC pin diagram of the IC 565. So this is the internal circuit diagram of the IC 565 PLL circuit. So phase detector, the important blocks are phase detector, amplifier. This is actually the capacitor C along with the resistor. This is the internal resistance value of the resistor. R and C form a low pass filter. Then the output of the low pass filter is given to the voltage control oscillator. Okay, phase detector, output of the phase detector is given to the amplifier. Amplifier output is given to the low pass filter. Here RC, the RC combination acts as a low pass filter. Then the output of the low pass filter is given to the voltage controlled oscillator. Then the fourth pin is the VCO output. The fourth pin is in the IC, the fourth pin is always tied up with the pin number 5, because the pin number 5 is the this is phase comparator input. Okay, here we are giving the output of the VCO. Through the input we can give the input signal. Okay, like that we have to proceed. So this is the output frequency, a formula to determine the output frequency of the VCO. Okay, you might have derived in the VCO, voltage controlled oscillator, IC 566, 0.25 divided by RT CT. So these are all some of the definition. Lock-in range, what is meant by lock-in range, what is meant by capture range. Okay, so lock-in range means range of frequencies over which the PLL can maintain the lock with the incoming signal. Capture range means it tries to acquire the lock, it tries to capture the frequency of the input signal. So next about the derivation of lock-in range. So I will quickly move this derivation. So as I told you already, the first block is the phase detector block. This is the output voltage of the phase detector. Okay, this is the standard equation. Output of the phase detector V equal to K phi into phi minus pi by 2. Okay, what is K phi? In a phase detector, like in the phase detector, phase angle is converted into voltage. So K phi is nothing but phase angle to voltage transfer coefficient. Okay, next we'll move to the control voltage. This is the input to the control voltage. Okay, so input to the control voltage is nothing but amplified version of the error voltage. So it is multiplied with A. So once the based on the control voltage only, the output frequency of the VCO changes, F equal to F0 plus KV into VC. Okay, so like that we have to proceed. I will end up with only the final equation. Due to time constraint, I am skipping. This is the final equation to find the lock-in range, del FL equal to plus or minus KV into K phi into A into pi by 2. This is the lock-in range. So if lock-in range, this is the range del FL. So complete lock-in range means 2 times the del FL. 2 times the del FL will be the lock-in frequency range. So this is the formula to find the lock-in frequency range. Okay, so this is the general expression. If it is asked specifically for IC 565, this is for PLL. For specifically, if it is asked for 565 means, so some specified specifications are available for 565. KV equal to 8 F naught divided by V. Okay, K5 equal to 1.4 divided by 5. When you substitute all these values into this expression, you will be getting the lock-in range. So del FL equal to plus or minus 7.84 F naught divided by V. Okay, this is the formula to find the lock-in range specifically for IC 565. Okay, but this is the general expression. When you move to the capture range, so for capture range, the expression is del FC equal to plus or minus root of F1 into del F, del FL. Okay. So where F1 got nothing but what? Cutoff frequency of the low pass filter. So from this expression, we can say that the capture frequency can be determined only if lock-in frequency is known. Okay. Or otherwise, the lock-in frequency can be determined if capture frequency is known. Okay. So from this total capture range is 2 times the del FC. Okay. So let us assume that if del FL is given, how to determine the capture frequency? If del F is given in the problem, how to determine the F1 cutoff frequency? How to find the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter F1? See the next one. F1 can be determined as cutoff frequency F1 equal to 1 divided by 2 pi RC. So R are nothing but this is the standard one for 565. R is 3.6 kilo ohm. If C value is given, you can able to find the del FC. Okay, so this is the graph which shows the difference between capture range, lock-in range. This is the free running frequency F naught initially if there is no input signal. Then once the input is applied, the F naught can be shifted either to the right side or left side. It depends on the value of the it depends on the value of the error voltage. Okay, so it is either increased or decreased. Okay, this is nothing but capture range, this is nothing but lock-in range. So this is I have shown only simple problems how to determine the control voltage VC. If the signal frequency is given, free running frequency is given, and voltage to frequency transfer coefficient of VCO is given as 4 kilohertz. So VCO nothing but voltage to frequency transfer coefficient is nothing but KV equal to del F divided by del VC. You might have studied in VCO. So how this voltage is transferred into the converted into frequency del F divided by del VC. Our aim is to find the del VC. So del VC equal to del F divided by KV. Del VC equal to del F divided by KV. How to find out del F in the problem? It is given KV is given, del F is not given directly. So del F is nothing but Fs minus F naught or F naught minus Fs. So therefore, change in control voltage is equal to del F divided by KV, from which we can able to obtain the del VC. So the second problem is to determine the capture range and lock-in range, and also to determine the R and C values. So in this problem, first the free running frequency F naught is given as 100 kilohertz. Then capacitor is given as 2 microfarad. Supply voltage is given as 6 volts. Our aim is to find the lock range and capture range. So lock range del FL equal to, for 565, it is derived as 8 F naught divided by V. F naught equal to 100 kilohertz. V is given as 6 volt. So you can substitute, you can find out the del FL. Once the del FL is determined, how to find out del FC? So already we have the formula for del FC. Del FC equal to square root of F1 into del FL. So F1 has to be determined. F1 equal to what? 1 divided by 2 pi RC. So therefore, C value is given R equal to 3.6K. You can able to find out F1. Once the F1 and del FL is substituted in this formula, you will get the value of del FC. Okay, so like that in PLL, either the voltage to frequency transfer coefficient can be determined. You can able to determine K phi also we can able to determine, and also we can able to find out the output of the VCO. What is the formula to find the output of VCO? What is the formula to find the output of VCO can be determined 0.25 divided by RTCT. Okay, so we can lock in range and capture range can be determined using the formula. So these are all standard problems to be asked in the PLL. Okay. So with this, I end up my presentation. So if you have any queries, kindly raise your queries.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session. It was very useful to us. I hope you all have some questions. Let us have question and answer session. Afrin will take over the session. Over to you, Afrin.
Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Amelie ma'am, for enriching us by sharing your knowledge. It was very useful for us, ma'am. Ma'am, there are multiple questions in the chat box. We have selected some interesting questions due to our time limit. Our first question is the output of digital to analog converter depend on the shape of the input wave or just the frequency?
Shape of analog to? Can you repeat once more?
Yes, ma'am. Is the output of digital to analog converter depend on the shape of input wave or just the frequency?
So actually in digital input, there is no shape with respect to digital input. Okay, either the input will be in logic 1 or logic 0. Okay, so it differs whenever we go for analog to digital conversion only. The shape of the input signal affects the output only for with respect to analog to digital conversion. With respect to digital to analog conversion, we will be giving either logic 1 or logic 0 only. Okay, so the shape of the digital input does not affect the output of the conversion.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is flash ADC is faster while comparing to other ADC?
Yes, speed. That's why it is named as flash. Okay, even though if you increase the number of bits, if you have increased the number of bits, it is 8-bit or 256 bits, all the bits can be compared, can be processed simultaneously. But with respect to speed of conversion, it is more advantageous. When you go for with respect to accuracy, it is not suitable one. So based on the requirements of the application, if the application requires more high speed, means you have to go for flash type ADC. If you require accuracy, if your requirement is high accuracy, means then you have to go for indirect type, that is dual slope ADC.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And our next question is, what should be the practical value of accuracy for ADC and DAC?
So practical value means accuracy is nothing but what? So it varies from application to application. Accuracy is nothing but the difference between the actual output with respect to the expected output. Okay, so it varies from expected output. Okay, it is not a standard value for accuracy. It varies from application to application. Are you getting my point? Accuracy is nothing but difference between the actual output and the expected output.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And our next.
We always expect the actual output to be matched with the expected output.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question, how long is the amplitude of analog input value held constant? What factor determines the time period?
Yes, it depends on the sampling period. Okay, sampling frequency. Actually, the amplitude of the analog signal is held constant till the next sample occurs. So the next sample occurs, it depends on the sampling period, sampling frequency, sampling rate. You might have studied about sampling theorem.
Yes, ma'am.
Fs greater than twice the maximum frequency. Okay. So the sampling process should follow the sampling theorem. Okay. So if it does not follow the sampling theorem, we cannot recover the original signal on the receiver side if you don't have enough number of samples. If you have only less number of samples means, then we cannot reconstruct the original signal on the receiver side. Okay. So the in the hold period depends on the sampling rate.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question, when the input signal has its own frequency, why should we need a circuit to generate the same frequency or phase at output as in the PLL?
So actually, if you don't know the frequency of the input signal, for example, in FM detect in the receiver circuit, we don't know the carrier frequency of the received signal. Okay, so we have to keep on tuning the to this is nothing but track the frequency of the input signal. So our circuit should be tracked or locked with the whenever our circuit. For example, if I have one tuner means a receiver circuit in FM radio means our circuit should be tuned to the carrier frequency of the incoming signal. So I have to tune my circuit to be locked with the input frequency of the received signal. Okay. So for that, some IC or PLL circuit is required to lock this income frequency of the our circuit should be matched or with the frequency of the incoming signal. Are you getting my point? You
Yes,
compare
ma'am.
this with your FM radio? So you will get clear output, clear signal, clear music only if only if your circuit is correctly tuned to the carrier
Tune.
frequency of the FM radio. Okay, if it
Yes,
is
ma'am.
yes.
Thank you so much, Amali ma'am, for answering all our questions more patiently. Your answers are more valuable and knowledgeable, ma'am. Still, we have some more questions to be answered, but we are running out of time. We will mail all the questions, ma'am. Students, please don't worry. All your questions will be answered soon. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you, Jalan.
Thank you, Afrin. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist merely of words. Gratitude is shown in acts. Now I call upon Rajia Fatima to deliver vote of thanks. Over to you, Rajia Fatima.
Thank you, Jalan. Good evening, everyone. The respected and most distinguished chief guest, respected principal, our beloved vice principal, come HOD, our professors, and my dear friends. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks for today's webinar. Let me, first of all, giving glory to Almighty for making today's webinar a resounding success. Now, I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. C. Amali, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, SRM Valiamma Engineering College, Chennai, for visiting and enlightening us with their knowledge. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave deep insights into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. The informations where ma'am told us about op-amp based data converters and special function ICs was really informative. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that ma'am gave us will definitely help us in our studies and future. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. C. Amali ma'am for taking out time from her busy schedule and enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. Sujata Anand ma'am, and my sincere gratitude to our beloved vice principal cum HOD, Dr. L. Nalini Joseph ma'am, for her support and bringing out the speaker for this wonderful session. And my heartfelt thanks to the webinar coordinators who helped us with the proper guidance and support. And I also want to thank the student committee who really worked hard to make this event successful. I heartily congratulate all the participants for their active participation in the event. No program can become successful with a single person. So I extend my big thanks to our department. And on behalf of our student coordinators, I thank our department staffs and students for their support. Once again, I thank you everyone who all gathered here and made this event a successful one. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Jalen.
Thank you, Rajia Fatima. My hearty thanks to everyone for making this event a great success. It would have not been possible without you all. Thank you each and everyone. Stay tuned with us for the upcoming webinar on the topic Modern Approach to Probability and Statistics by Dr. S. Chitra to be held on 2nd June and Problem Solving Approach in Waveguides by Dr. N. Subhashini to be held on 3rd June. Kindly register for this webinar as soon as possible. And dear participants, the feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Do fill it before leaving the session so that you receive your certificate within 2 to 3 days. Thanks for participating. Please do pray for the affected people with COVID and their speedy recovery. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you all.
Thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you.
Madam, dear students and Dr. Amali, so was a wonderful session. Hope you all have enjoyed it, and you would have known how the subject is being handled in an easier way by the way she had taken the classes. So hope this session would have been a very useful one and helpful for your preparation of examination. Whatever the doubts you have, you can clear it, send a mail